All right, welcome back to the Legal Marketing Happy Hour presented by Above the Bar Marketing, the podcast where legal professionals can unwind after a day of hard work and grab a cocktail or two and learn a few things about digital marketing. Today, we're diving into the topic of the digital marketing evolution from the late 90s to where it is today. My name is Jim Hayes. I am the Chief Growth Officer of Above the Bar Marketing and joined always by my lovely host, the CEO and founder of Above the Bar Marketing, Lindsay Marty.
Thank you for that introduction, Uncle Jim, what we like to call you. I'm sure you love it. We have a very special guest today that I'm very, very excited about. When I first started in the legal marketing industry in Wisconsin, he was known as the godfather of criminal. And I don't even think you know that. I wanted to spring that on you. I've been blessed.
All right, I'm out of here.
I've been blessed to work with him for a little over 10 years now. And he is a good friend, but also an amazing criminal defense attorney in the state of Wisconsin. He is a mentor to many and has tons of great insight to share with other attorneys looking to branch off and start their own firm. We're really excited to kind of hear from him today. And in addition, he's won tons of awards in the criminal defense field, one being his Super Lawyers ranking for how many years now, Chris? Do you even know?
Over a dozen.
Over a dozen. He's also been invited to the Blue Ribbon Panel, which is an elite group of attorneys within Super Lawyers that help with narrowing down the votes even further. He also has won several awards through the Wisconsin Association of Criminal Defense, and I'm sure I'm missing a few, but welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, but you already missed, you completely biffed my most important lifetime award.
Okay, tell us.
What was that?
I am in the Ewing, New Jersey High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Oh,
For what sport?
For being a basketball manager.
Oh,
I am a champion water boy, and I have a Hall of Fame certificate to prove it.
I love that for you.
Well, my kids think it's a joke. And when somebody called and invited my wife to get me on the phone, my wife kept thinking it was one of my 8 brothers playing a practical joke. But I am to this day the only member of my 9 boys and 2 girls family, or my immediate family, to be in an athletic Hall of Fame, and it has nothing to do with skill. I'm much taller in a courtroom than I am on a basketball court.
Do you still drink a lot of water?
I never drank water. I hate water. Water is the devil. You know what fish do in it? Come on, that's what. No, I drink coffee, coffee, coffee. That's what I drink. This might be coffee.
That way, it's Legal Marketing Happy Hour. You can fulfill that drink need. Yeah, however you want.
Well, truthfully, when my favorite local coffee shop in Madison, I'm going to give a shout out, Ancora. They roast their own coffee. They have great food. But when they shut down for COVID and they reopened, they went from closing at 5 o'clock to closing at 3 o'clock. So my 4 o'clock coffee became a 3 o'clock coffee. And they know me as Mr. 259. So there you go.
It's very fitting. And I forgot that you are a huge baseball fan and you love the Brewers.
Okay, you're batting 500, Lindsay. You're not. Yes, that's an athletic Hall of Fame batting average, but I love baseball and I'm a diehard Yankees fan, and I'm in mourning because the Red Sox swept the series. There's only one reason for a grown man to cry, and that's when the Yankees lose to the Red Sox.
Yeah, we won't bring that up again.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I love baseball and I love ATB, and ATB loves to go to baseball games. So I'll always be your fan and your friend. But Thank you for having me. And I'll do my best to help anybody who's listening, the 1 or 2 people that are dialing in or listening later, to try to maybe make a few dollars extra so they go to extra baseball games.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we get more than a couple of followers as we grow, because, if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? If a podcast is made, and, well, you get the rest.
The other hand, on the other hand, I love baseball and I love ATB, and ATB loves to go to baseball games. So I'll always be your fan and your friend. But thank you for having me. And I'll do my best to help anybody who's listening, the 1 or 2 people that are dialing in or listening later, to try to maybe make a few dollars extra so they go to extra baseball games.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get more than a couple of followers as we grow, because, if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? If a podcast is made, and, well, you get the rest.
Attorney Chris Van Wagner is with us today, and he has been a practicing attorney since
1981, which means this is my 43rd year in practice. I know, doesn't look like it. I don't look a day over 68.
And how many of those years have you been a solo practitioner?
Well, I've been in private criminal practice since 1994, so this is 30 years. And for part of that time, for 15 years of that 30 years, I had a law partner. And the other 15 has been me, myself, and I. And between the two, they both have their pluses and minuses. But once you've got the background and experience, and also have my previous law partner taught me a lot about marketing. That's how we got into it. And that's how I'm going to have some information to share with you. But once you learn to market yourself, you can take your skill and make money on it. But more importantly, do good work. And really, if you're not motivated by good work, then money isn't going to motivate you. It's going to make you a thief, and it's going to steal your life. So if you don't love your work, find new work. I'll hopefully share some of my passion for the work today too.
This might turn into more of a career Zen podcast than it is the evolution of digital marketing. You started in 1994, your practice, Chris?
I hung out my shingle in Wisconsin in 94, yes.
Okay. So,
for those of you who don't know that phrase, hang out your shingle, I'm sorry for you.
well, I remember in 94 what I was doing in high school. We had just gotten a computer in my house, and I don't remember getting on the internet for anything useful other than stealing songs in the 90s. But did they have websites for lawyers in 94? What did that look like?
No, they did not. No. So let's trace through that. I hung out my shingle in 94, and my marketing consisted of a very small Yellow Pages ad, because I was solo and I was broke, and we had 2 babies and a third on the way. We now have 4 and they're grown, and we have grandbabies. So it's been a while. I had a Yellow Pages ad. I printed business cards, and this may shock you. This may utterly shock you, but I forced myself to be social. I talked to lots of people. I talked to everybody. I talked to the clerks, the janitors, the police officers, the defendants in jail, the judges, you name it. And when you do that, and you don't do it in an angry way, but in a friendly way, which is just my normal tendency, people remember you. And then ultimately someday, if they happen to see you in the news, they go, oh, I know that guy. And all of a sudden they think they know somebody famous. They don't. They know somebody infamous, because we always do horribly evil work. We're considered to be the low end of the totem pole in law, although PI lawyers are up there with us. But the internet and websites really didn't start until about 98, 99. That's not to say that big law firms. So before I hung out my shingle in 94, I was a federal prosecutor in Madison. We didn't have a website in the U.S. Attorney's Office. We put out paper press releases that we faxed to media outlets. That's how we got the word out. Before that, I was in Chicago at a big law firm, and they had something called instant messaging in the office, and cathode ray tubes computers. But there was no internet. So nobody was Googling anything. The closest thing to the internet would have been using the Westlaw database, which was a computer, but I didn't know how to use it then. So it was really between 94 and 99 where the transition began. Now I can trace that through for you if you want, or I can let you throw a question at.
No, I wish there was like a time capsule where we could go back and look at what the very first Chris Van Wagner website looked like. Did you have to build that yourself, or were you able to hire a company?
Well, no, I build castles in the air out of words. Okay, I'm a wordsmith. I'm not an X's and O's guy. I learned BASIC when I was in college in 1974, and I basically learned nothing. There were 2 languages, BASIC and COBOL, and the computer filled the room. And the professor, Dr. Fendrick, was trying to teach us idiots how a computer worked. And I'm sure there was somebody who did, but I didn't care. I really didn't care. I just wanted to get to the gym, so I did. What happened was a woman who worked with a company that's known to Lindsay, that she used to work with, was in charge of marketing for us. And our marketing was essentially advertising and Yellow Pages and not much more. And they began, and they did all kinds of advertising, and they had markets divided up and saturated, and you had ads here and ads there, and it was always phone book advertising. That's where you went. You picked up the yellow pages, you went to A for attorney, and you looked, and the very first 15 or 20 pages were, we used to call them double truck ads, which are 2-page yellow pages ads, and the first 19 were all personal injury dog bite because people made money on that and they didn't have to pay. The 20th page, the double truck, the first and only double truck, was Van Wagner and Wood. That was the name of the firm. We had a 2-page ad, and it cost a lot of money.
Do you remember?
Lot.
What was it? Ballpark?
What do you mean by a lot of money?
Over $100,000 a year.
Did it work?
Yeah. Sure.
Did it work?
It worked. Yeah, but I did something early on. When I first hung out my shingle, I called the phone company. There was a phone company then. There wasn't a bunch of phone companies. There was a phone company. You just had this. Hit one of these. And I said, I need a phone number. I need a fax number. I need a second line. I spent 2 hours on the phone. Maybe this is how maybe I had instinctive marketing savvy. Maybe I just got lucky, but I thought, I want a phone number that everybody will remember.
Yeah.
So I called up, Ma Bell, basically, Ameritech it was. I said, I need a phone number for my new law practice. Can you start reading me numbers that end in zeros, double zeros? And then can you find one where the next one ends in 01? And I was on the phone for 2 hours with Ameritech. I think that's who it was. Yeah, Ameritech. They did the advertising. They did the yellow pages. So they finally came to a couple of numbers. And my number today is my number then. Every good lawyer should have a business card in his pocket. I don't know how to share screen, but if we're on screen, I'll show it to you. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, so my number that they gave me was 608-284-1200. And you know what? That rolls off the tongue. 608-284-1200. If you know you're calling a Madison lawyer, it's 284-1200. And if you look carefully, the digits, I'm a little bit of a numbers geek. The 2 and the 4 and the 1200 are symmetrical. So 24 is twice 12. 284-1200. Easy to say. Not 284-1200, not 4567. So there was. I didn't use an acronym. I didn't want to have CBW Law.1. I wanted a number that people remember. That number stays with me today. And when my partnership ended, I looked at my law partner who wanted to branch off and hire associates. I don't do that. I'm a control freak. And she said, what about the number? I said, you don't own it. It's mine. And I will punch you in the nose if you even try to take it. Literally. She didn't. That number went on my first business card. And the combination of the business card and the double truck yellow pages, I always had 20 business cards on, and you just hand them out like candy. Just hand them out. I mean, it got into somebody's wallet. I have had people to this day, 30 plus years or 30 years later, pull out a card from my very first law office, and it has that number. Doesn't have an email on it, doesn't have a website, but it has that number. I've had people, and I give them, by the way, I give them a new one. I spring for it. And now my business card has the number, has my email, has my website, and also has a tagline underneath my name. And that I came up with that. It says real lawyer, trial lawyer. Well, let's break that down. It's not false advertising because I'm a real lawyer. I can show you my bar. I'm also a trial lawyer. I've had 150 felony jury trials to verdict, so I know what I'm doing. And yet neither of them is a certification, and one of them is a play on words. Do you know what that is, Jim?
The real?
Yeah, real lawyer. What's that? You know what that's an offset for, don't you?
I'm assuming versus a lawyer that just does a lawyer on TV.
No, not even. It's actually a lawyer. So many people have to take an appointed lawyer. So they get a public defender. Many people who take public defenders have to because they can't afford them. They generically refer to them as public pretenders. They're not in Madison. They're really good lawyers. I have a brother-in-law who retired. He's one of the best trial lawyers in Madison, but he worked for the government, not for himself. And people would come into his office and they would say, I don't want a public pretender. I want a real lawyer. Well, he might have had a stash of my cards, and he might have said, well, here's one. It says it on his card. He's a real lawyer.
That's
So,
brilliant.
so that was through 99. And then a woman who left the big advertising company, the big legal marketing firm that nobody likes anymore.
Did you already have a website in 99?
No, they were just about to go there.
Okay.
That
And
was when Westlaw was making them, right?
yeah, Westlaw. I didn't say the name you did. I thought that was the company that should not be named. Sure, Westlaw. They wanted us to build a website for them. Maybe they even did build a rudimentary one. I can't remember. I don't think so. I think instead, their former marketer, people have a tendency to leave there and be more successful. Did you know that, Lindsay? They do.
Really?
I mean, it's a long way from ads on the back of receipts on cash register receipts. Gotcha. So she opened her own firm and she used us as her demo. And she built out our website. She said, "Are you ready to be inundated?" Wasn't wrong. And we were the first criminal lawyers to drop their Yellow Pages advertising. And everybody called us up and said, "Did you close your firm? Are you out of business?" No, we're not out of business.
That's a big move.
It was a huge move.
Yeah.
It was about half the cost of the Yellow Pages, but we were taking a risk. We did not do any overlap. When the contract ended, we went to the web. And that didn't stop the marketing that I did then on an individual basis, and that I still do to this day. No matter where I am a lawyer. I love being a lawyer. It's my passion. It's what I'm called to do. And as a practical matter, I love talking about my cases. I wake up every morning happy to go. Now, some days by 3 o'clock, I'm not as happy, but I'll get there. And so the net result is I am always engaged with people. I study people. I study them not in a stalking way, but I just love how people interact. And if you think about it, criminal law in particular, and even some other areas of law that people practice, immigration law, family law for sure, they require you to have a much deeper understanding of the human brain and the human heart and human emotions. Why do people act certain ways? I don't know, but it's good to study it. So in the course of my 30 years now in private practice in Wisconsin, I have never stopped carrying a stack of business cards in my pocket. If a lawyer doesn't have a stack of business cards available, I don't think they're really a lawyer, and they're not a real lawyer either, and they don't have a card that says it. But you give them out, but now it drives them to my website. They don't call. Nobody calls. The only people who call are older people. That's important. Older people who have landline phones or have relinquished it and gotten a cell phone still want to talk on the phone. They don't want to send an email. They don't want to send a contact form. And guess what they are? All you people interested in marketing, they're the people who write the check.
Right. They're the parents of the kids, the college kids who get in trouble.
College kids, the 45-year-old college kids or adults. It's always somebody's mother calling me, no matter what age. Mom could be 80 and son could be 60. It's the mother calling and saying, "Well, I'm going to take care of the money, but don't think you're going to take me for any. I'm fine with it." So you have to have phone skills. You have to have people skills. And even though I hate Zoom, this is better than email. And so if you have those people skills, it means you're paying attention to the people you're talking to. The most important part of that contact is not the website. It's when they reach out to you from the website and you exchange some information and you get on the phone with them as fast as possible. The website's great, but you still have to use the phone. And cell phones are not always the best choice. They're better because they can be scratchy. You can drop them. There's nothing more frustrating than trying to hire a lawyer and have a lawyer's phone keep cutting out. Or it sounds tinny because he's using cheap earbuds. So you get on the real phone or in person and you have a person-to-person conversation with them. And the single most important thing you're going to do is not market yourself. It's going to be to listen to them. And I don't mean listen like this. Right. I mean, listen, focus, figure out why they're calling, what's bothering them, what their needs may be, whether they have any money, and there's ways to do that. I'll get to those if you want. And also figure out if they're crazy or they're annoying or they're demanding. Because the single most important decision you make at the end of a phone call with somebody who might be interested in hiring a lawyer is to reject them. And that how you do that, you don't say, "I'm not going to do your work." Well, I do that once in a while. But usually you say, "I don't think I can help you. I don't think I'm the right fit for you. Let me see if I can give you a couple other names." And whether I give out my friends or my enemies depends on how bad the phone call
Yeah. So
Well,
it sounds like networking has been a huge, referral source and just staying engaged with the community.
I'm gonna shoot you right back, Lizzie. I
Uh,
hate the word networking. I
I know,
don't
but
network.
that's what you're doing.
No, I'm not. I am.
Yes,
I
it
am.
is. You're
I'm
going
engaging in human relations with people.
and networking.
well, and
You
Okay, but
can't see below.
I
Can you
I
see
know
below my keyboard? You can't
I
see my hands, can you?
that's
you're
not nice,
flipping
Chris.
around.
That's not
What? I
nice.
was.
So
I was shaking your hand.
Chris, I know you know a lot about search engine optimization because your brother has written articles for Search Engine Land and all
Sure.
sorts of stuff. So
Yeah.
when you first started, can you tell us how, like, I didn't have anything to do with SEO in 1999, right? But I would assume it was a lot easier to show up on page one for search and show up often and well. Can you tell us a little bit about how that has changed from your experience and how it, just in the last
Sure.
30 years?
Oh, it's changed immensely. The most obvious change is that almost everybody searches on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
The original searches were on a desktop. Were not on a tablet, not on a laptop. Desktop searches, 2000, 2005,
Yep.
2010. People were on a computer, usually at work on a Monday after little Johnny got wrongfully jailed on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Mommy needed to get Johnny out on a Monday, so she starts going online and also looking at the phone book. And they would just, and so at that moment in time, in the early years of internet-based marketing through websites, the key was not AdWords, they didn't exist. The key was not phone book ads. It was, did your website show up when somebody searched Madison criminal kick-ass lawyer or something like that? Which is, I mean, people do funny search terms, You haven't tried that one yet, have you? Don't search pit bull lawyer, you'll get dog leg, okay? Search lawyer who owns pit bulls, then you get a good one. So one's right out there. One's right out there. So the search engine optimization was your website had to rank. You had to be on page one of Google, maybe page two in a serious case. And then once they got there, they had to see your face and they had to see something that said this person can win. Those are really the 2 points. That was it. Beyond that, testimonials were new. They weren't really there. We didn't do a lot of fancy things. Now you go on your phone and things slide in and out and colors changed. And I mean, every Technicolor Dreamcoat you want can be on your phone.
So was it just like
You
a
have
lot
questions?
of keyword stuffing and that
Yes.
got you?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And every time I wrote my bio, they would like change it around and add all these words I didn't like, but they said, well, we have to. So I said, fine, go ahead. Ironically enough, I do believe my current website still has a picture taken in the year 2000. Nice picture. And my hair is just, it's the same color.
And tell us why you think that picture is effective, because I've heard this.
I have people say that the picture that the marketer took, and she took it herself with a professional camera in our office. They, first of all, not smiling. Second, I've got on what back in the day you might have referred to as sort of a power tie.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a look on my face that was dead serious.
Yep.
I didn't know how to make faces. I mean, I would have gone, whatever, I would have made faces, but they took smiling pictures, but they also took, now nowadays everybody does this.
Yeah.
I hate that. That's also posed, but it was just a straightforward picture with a tie similar to this, not the best. The best is today because we're podcasting and we're beveraging. But the fact of the matter is that it is a suit and tie that says, I mean business.
Yep.
White shirt, a striped tie, and it says, I know what I'm doing. You can trust me.
First impressions are huge. I mean, you've got such a short period of time, especially online, to snag their attention, one, and then to try to gain some credibility without them knowing you. I mean, that's a huge part of marketing, right? I mean, that's as soon as they see you, what's the impression that they're going to get.
Well,
absolutely. And
that picture of you, Chris, just is like, I'm a badass lawyer and I am going to fight for you until, you get the outcome that you want. And I would
would describe it a little differently. I would say the picture says that I am strong,
Mhm.
serious, and I have a lot of starch in my collar, which means I pay good money to look. I mean it, the classic traditional look. I
Mhm.
see a lot of younger lawyers wearing skinny jean suits, and I just say to them, you should go have a tailor make a suit for you. Wear a real suit. They don't know what I'm talking about, but that's okay. That'll change, but in my era, that's important still. So that was where internet marketing started. And the question the marketer asked us was, "Are you ready to have me rock your world?" I didn't know what that meant. We found out 2 years later. The phone wouldn't stop ringing. Then the challenge becomes, what do you do with the phone calls? How do you get the dreck, the time wasters off, and how do you find the people who are legitimate prospects? Because look, we're in sales. The
Mhm.
first thing you're selling is you.
Mhm.
But if
Do
you sit
you
there and
think
say, "Let me tell you how good I am," you lose.
yeah, do you
That's
think
why
you
I
get
said,
more of the crazies and the tire kickers now than you did in the Yellow Pages days? Is it opened your brand up to a bigger expanse of crazy?
yes and no. I would say this: a bigger, expensive, crazy, yes, but a lot of it comes through website submissions, and those are easy to screen out.
Mhm.
Um, but the phone calls are still important. And I have a simple rule. Lindsay's heard this before. If your phone's going to ring during business hours, it should be a live human being answering it, not an answering service, not all those services that are marketing themselves. They get it wrong. People know when you have an answering service. They just know that. So you need a live person who works for you answering. Why? Because if they work with you long enough and they pay attention, they can start the screening process for you. I'll get an email from my assistant. I give her a shout out, but I won't mention her name because of her privacy. She's phenomenal. She's been in the business 20 years. She joined me last year after my longtime assistant retired before I did. Everybody's going to retire before me. And so she can send me a note that says, I talked to this person. They sound a little off, or maybe they're a little crazy, or they were really demanding, or they're calling the wrong person, or this person sounds sincere, serious. This person should get a call right away. You have to have staff. You can't leave it to email. You can't screen somebody by email. You have to have a person-to-person interaction with them. And if your assistant does it, and they pass that information on to you, and in this work from home era, I let her work from wherever she wants, but she gets me an email. It doesn't matter where I am. I call them when I have time to speak for at least, this is going to bug the millennials, at least 20 minutes and hopefully 30. I will not agree to be hired by anybody until I've spoken with them for half an hour usually. At some point, we moved away from FindLaw and over to ATB.
Mhm.
Okay, and we moved to ATB because the young lady in the window in front of me on the left had a pretty good sales pitch, and it was, let me get started with you. Let me give you the best I can. I think you'll be impressed. It'll be cheaper, and I'll give you more personal attention. I'm not a big corporation looking at the bottom line. I said, it's a deal. Let's go. And that was even before I knew our boat parties, okay, or beverage hours on podcasts. But
Surprise.
what I learned through Lindsay was in-depth information about AdWords and marketing and tracked lines and how to get rid of the stuff that you don't need. And that was maybe the most important part. If you're going to use internet marketers, once you build up a thing and things are going well, I had my old law partner used to say, well, let's not change anything because it's working. And my thought that was, no, let's critically evaluate each thing and see if it's working. How many times a year do we do that, Lindsay? At least 4 times a year. I say, should I scrap this? Should I scrap that? So the lawyer has to be aware of how it works, has to be dialed in. But the only way the marketing works is to go back to the old school. Okay. Networking. You got to speak to people. You got to have people skills, and you got to make sure that they hear in your voice an inquisitive curiosity and empathy for their situation. And by the way, if you don't have it, then go sell used car because you shouldn't be a lawyer.
Well, you really just brought that all full circle. You should host our next podcast because you're very good.
Well, and Chris, I think that that point right there is that really is your differentiator and the what makes marketing, not just digital marketing, successful for attorneys is if you have that differentiator of still being able to communicate and be able to help somebody transition from that digital version of you and make them feel comfortable and feel
Yep.
like you can relate to them and you have empathy. And not only that, but obviously the confidence to handle their case right.
Mhm.
That's how you grow a business and practice now, because I think there's a lot of people who just don't have that. that same ability to engage and have those one-on-one human conversations.
No, Jim, you're absolutely right. And in fact, I much prefer to be with a client in person and not by Zoom. Sometimes I have to default to it because of schedules, but the reason is simple. And I'll make a joke. I'll kind of finish with a funny story. When somebody pays me a substantial fee to be their criminal lawyer, and I go to court and I make a good argument for them, after we come out, they're usually pretty happy, even if we didn't win. They say, "Oh, I got a good lawyer. He really knows what he's doing." And the judge knows him. You know, the good lawyer knows the law, great lawyer knows the judge. They all know him. But what I say to them is, well, you just have a rare opportunity. Technically, you can get almost all your money back from me. I just did one hearing. And you just got to watch your lawyer practice in person. Do you want to keep me? You can fire me today and say, forget it, I'm going to go with a relief pitcher. Go ahead. So that's not only a challenge to them. I do it when they have seen me in action and seen me. I like to say that when I'm in the courtroom, it's mine. It's my courtroom. It's not the judge's. And I try to act that way, not in an arrogant way, but I control the flow through humor, through respect, through professionalism, and through preparedness. But when we walk out of there, that's a sales pitch. That's reminding them they got to go.
A lot of branding that goes into that, right? And not only just in the way you dress, but the way you carry yourself, the way you handle yourself in a courtroom, and that salesmanship.
That's heavy starch right there. Can you hear it?
Love it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Chris. This was an amazing podcast, and we will definitely ask for your wisdom in the future if you don't mind joining us again.
Well, not at all. And I'm happy to come back just to make sure it's a day I can be here. If I can, and I sign up, then I'm going to let you down. I don't want to do that.
Okay. Well, if you are in Wisconsin and you are in any kind of trouble, legal trouble, please reach out to Christopher Van Wagner. He obviously has the most experience out of anybody that I know. And his number is 608-284-1200. It rolls right off the tongue.
It will be on a card in my hand and my casket.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Chris, thanks for joining us.
Okay, you guys take care. I'll sign off now.
Okay. Bye, Chris. Thank you.
We'll see you soon.